Hey guys, welcome back to the garage, and it's been a while, or at least it feels like it's been a while. So I was just working on the 280Z here, unfortunately prepping it for storage. Not long-term storage, but I think it is going to be in there for the next 9 to 10 months or so. And I'll explain why in a little bit. So I haven't made any updates in the last 4 months, and in that time, at least a few of you have asked, hey, what's going on with your cars? What are you working on these days? When are you planning to upload new content? So I thought I owed those guys a bit of an update, because a ton of things have happened in the last 4 months that made me pause updating the channel, both in terms of the cars that I own and in my personal life, and maybe you guys don't care about the latter, but I'll update you anyway. Let's start with the 3000 GT. So if you guys have watched, I guess the last 8-ish episodes from the channel, most of those have been about the blue 1994 3000 GT SL that my friends and I picked up for $700 to go on a 24 hours of lemons race, which is something that we've always wanted to do. So we were in the process of, parting the car out, selling what we could, and working on the engine, the transmission, and the brakes, and whatever we thought we needed to do to get ready for this race. And almost everything was complete except for putting in the roll cage. And we affectionately called that car the Booger because of how horrible it was. Most $700 cars are. And I am very sad to report that that car is gone. You notice it's not in this garage. It's probably sitting in a junkyard somewhere in this cold, dreary night. Because we totaled it, we got into an accident, not with another car, we ended up just wrecking it into an electrical pole. And I'll share some details around that, even though it's a very embarrassing story for me, but I do think it's kind of a funny story to tell. So to give you a little bit of context, what I like to do, if I want to test drive the cars that I work on, is to drive out in the middle of the night to the countryside, and from where I live, that's not that far. You drive out maybe 30-40 minutes out west, you can find some really nice paved roads that is just devoid of any traffic or cars for that matter, especially late at night. And I like to do that because I push my cars really pretty hard. Let's say I'm not driving responsibly, and I don't want to put anyone else in danger, so that's the time and the place that I like to do it in. So about 4 months ago, we had just put in the new clutch by taking out the entire transmission and putting it back in, and my friends and I were just super happy about that because none of us had done that before, and we were really happy about how the car was shifting and driving afterwards. So we decided to take it out for a drive, so we're out in the countryside, and we are driving not that responsibly. Let's say we're driving fairly spiritedly, and we come into this corner, and this turn ended up being a lot sharper or tighter than we thought it was going to be. And in retrospect, the $60 crappy cheapo tires that we put on the car was probably the reason, or the key reason, for the loss of traction and for the car's demise. So we enter this corner, and somehow my buddy ended up just just oversteering the thing. So the car is getting out of control, and there's this wooden electrical pole at towards the exit of the turn. So we ended up losing control. We smacked this thing pretty hard. I think we were going maybe like 40 to 50 miles per hour. And we smack this thing, and the car just goes into a fairly violent 360 spin, and we end up in a ditch. And I'll show you the picture of the light pole first, so that you guys can kind of imagine what kind of damage we did to the car. And again, we end up just smacking this thing in the middle of the car. I think it was actually on the license plate. And the front of the car is just completely caved in. The frame is just very bent in, and there's fluids leaking everywhere, and the windshield is completely, destroyed. And both of the airbags end up deploying. And if you guys haven't been hit by an airbag before, it is not a pleasant experience. It feels like someone just walked up and punched you in the mouth. So not a pleasant experience. But above and beyond that, neither one of us were hurt, and I was in the passenger side, and when this car went for a spin, my right side shoulder and my arm end up just kind of smacking into the side of the car, which that wasn't that pleasant either, because we didn't have any trim on the doors. We had removed them because we were stripping the car out, and it was just exposed metal. And I'm sorry for shivering. It's really kind of cold in here. So my right arm kind of ended up getting shoved into the door, and there's some scrapes and bruises, but nothing serious. And in fact, right after we fell into the ditch, I immediately checked if I sustained any injuries, and I asked my friend if he was all right, and he was perfectly fine. So in that moment, I was extremely, I guess, happy. In that adrenaline-induced moment, I just ended up just laughing and smiling, because this thing could have been a lot worse. Like, we could have been seriously hurt, and yet we were just kind of walking out of the car just fine. We didn't have to go to the hospital or anything like that. But right after we got out of the car, we, like responsible citizens we called the police, mostly to kind of notify someone of the damage that we had done to the electrical pole. So the police arrive on scene shortly after, and the police officer is just definitely not happy about this, and he's just kind of irritated and suspicious, which, I don't blame him at all. If I were the police officer in that situation, I would have been, very irritated myself to find these two random guys who destroyed public property in the middle of nowhere at that time of the night in a car that kind of looks like we pulled out of a junkyard even before the damages. So we were as transparent as as possible, and we were as polite as possible. We just kind of explained the situation as best as we could. And he ended up kind of finding the whole thing amusing. I think he was a car guy himself. So, after we told him, everything, he kind of got what we were doing out there, and what ended up happening. So he ended up just kind of letting us go without getting us into any trouble. We didn't even get a ticket, which we, deserved. As crappy as the car was, we were totally kind of legal from the perspective of registration and insurance and all that stuff. So we kind of got off scot-free, but that was, you couldn't say the same thing about the car. It was just, again, irreparably damaged. So we ended up having it towed to a junkyard and selling it for scrap, so we ended up getting some money back from it, but not nearly enough to obviously cover all the new parts that we had thrown onto the car, which is totally kind of beside the point. I don't really even care about the money, but I am very sad that the car is no longer here, because and if you're watching this channel, you guys get it. It doesn't matter how terrible the car is, how awfully it drives or it looks, or how little it's worth. Once you start making improvements, once you start putting sweat equity and turning wrenches and getting to know the car, as car guys, we definitely do get emotionally attached to the car, and that was certainly true in this case, in my case. We had a ton of fun just learning and working together on the car. So lots of good memories, but the car is gone now, unfortunately, and no, again, kind of lessons learned. But and it would be nice if we could pick up another car to work on to kind of get back into preparing for the Lemons race. Unfortunately, that's not going to happen because of something else that happened in my personal life that is not going to allow me to work on cars in the near future. Again, like the next 9 to 10 months, and it's not anything sad. So I ended up finding a new job, and I have to move down to Raleigh, North Carolina. So I graduated college in 2011, and ever since then I've only had, I had only one job, which was in the financial services industry, which is a job that I enjoyed and I appreciated. So I wasn't looking for a new job, which kind of explains the why this was kind of an unforeseen circumstance. I got a call from my old boss a few months ago, and he ended up asking me if I wanted to come work for this new company that he was at, and it is a automotive parts retailer that is headquartered in Virginia and North Carolina, and if you do a little bit of research, you can probably figure out which one it is. So, even though I wasn't looking for a new job, and I was enjoying the position or the job that I had, I couldn't turn this one down. I've always wanted to go into an industry that I felt, a lot of passion towards, and for me that is the automotive industry. So, long story short, I have to move to Raleigh, North Carolina, and I wasn't able to find a place that had a garage. So I ended up signing a lease with a short-term, a 10-month lease with an apartment complex that has a parking garage, but nothing that you can work on cars in, and they only allow 1 or 2 cars there, and I have 1 or 2 many cars, so this one is going into storage, and even if I had kept it in the parking garage, it's not like I can work on it there. So I say this is ironic because I am pursuing my passion, going into the automotive industry that I've always wanted to do, but on the other hand, I will have to put a short temporary pause on being able to work on cars, but I hope I can get back to it relatively soon. I am looking to purchase property in North Carolina, and setting up my dream garage somewhere I don't have to worry about moving ever again. So looking forward to that, and I do want to kind of finish this off by saying thank you for everyone who has been following the channel, and it's a pleasure being able to share the experience and knowledge that that I've been able to obtain through kind of doing this hobby, but it's also been a pleasure getting to talk to you guys and learning more from you guys as well. So it is farewell for now, but hopefully not for too long. I do have tons of video that I've captured that I haven't been able to just like put into a edited episode, so you guys might be seeing a few more things come out of this channel in the next year or so. But until next time, thanks for everything. I hope to see you guys very soon.